This show is brought to you by HostBaby.com, web hosting for musicians.
On episode 54 of Music Marketing Monday, we talk about how to engage a live audience. It's something that Billy and I have direct experience with, and we're going to share some of our top tips with you today. Saddle up. Let's go.
Information, inspiration, motivation for the modern musicpreneur.
Time to start your week right.
Here it comes, Music Marketing Monday, with your host, Bob Baker,
Mr. Buzz Factor,
and Billy Gryzak.
the Music Marketing Mind.
Ready? Are you sure?
Set.
Here it comes. Swing, baby.
All right. Hey, everybody, look at me. Look at me. Look at me. That's right. I'm on stage. Look at me. It's all about me. Hey, I don't even care about you. It's about me because I'm so awesome. I'm playing the guitar. I look so hot. Yeah, me. No, that's not how you do it. Today, we're going to be talking about engaging your audience, getting them into the show, having a successful gig, etc., etc. Hey, who am I? Well, I'm the full-time working musician. I'm Billy Gryzak, and that dude over the corner preparing to engage is...
It's Bob Baker, Mr. Buzz Factor. And you know, Billy, when I play live, I look pretty hot too. That's because I sweat profusely, and so I look very hot when I'm exerting myself. It's a little bit too much information.
Oh, Bob. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's springtime here in the Midwest, and as is the case often in the spring, when the trees start budding, the pollen comes out. My sinuses are affected, so I apologize ahead of time if I cough or I sound a little bit more nasally or something or stuffed up than usual. So
far today we've talked about your body fluids and your sinus problems and your coughing. This is going to be a great show.
Yeah. Let me tell you about this ache I've been having.
No. Let's move on. People want to know. Inquiring minds want to know all about engaging their fans. Actually, not fans. We're talking about the audience members. Typically, we talk about, how to engage fans, how to attract new fans. But now we're talking about once we got them at the show, how do we just get them involved and have a really, truly great show that they'll talk about, remember, and want to tell their friends about, right?
Yeah, I thought that would be a fun topic for an entire show. Now, I know over the course of our 50-some-odd episodes, we have touched on this at different times because we've done different things about playing live gigs and booking gigs and all that stuff. But just a whole show just dedicated to this, I think, is pretty valid. So here's the deal. When I was a kid, surprisingly, I was quite shy socially, but for some reason I took to the stage, and once I got comfortable performing and playing in bands, there was a certain element of me that sort of came alive on stage. And so for as long as I can remember, I know both of us have been playing in bands and playing music for decades, I was usually the guy in the band who would talk to the audience in between songs. And I don't know why I would joke around. I usually didn't take things too seriously. And so I'd get people laughing and it's occurred to me over the years that a lot of musicians, this is a very difficult thing. Like I go to open mics or just go to a show and somebody will barely say anything to the audience, or when they do, it's kind of painful sometimes. And so I know that you share this sort of charismatic online persona too. And I'm not talking about being goofy and jumping around and doing, windmills and all that stuff, but I'm just talking about ways to engage an audience either through your banter or through elements that we'll talk about in the show to get people involved. Because I for some reason, I just don't really relate to or don't enjoy, I should say, that sort of quiet, there's the performer, there's the audience. We're going to sit and listen. I mean, there's certain times, like on slow songs and ballads, they're sitting there and intently listening to you. But as much as I can engage an audience, I think that makes it more fun for the performer and the audience as well.
Well, one of the advantages to seeing a live performance is the fact that it's shouldn't be a passive experience. It's not like watching a television. One of the things I see a lot of performers do is what I call the fishbowl effect. Or the other side of the screen effect, where we're up here, we're in our fishbowl, and we're doing our thing in here, and we have our own little world and our own little environment, and what happens out there does not affect us, and we are not part of it. Watch us, you know what I mean? And
Right.
that's bad. just flat out. Look, guys, I hate to tell you this, but that's just flat out bad. But there are many, many ways to engage an audience, whether it's through being spontaneous, being a natural at it, planning it out, doing it with motions or other things besides having to, get out there and talk your butt off too. So, what are your thoughts, Bob? Where do you
let's talk about the I guess let's talk about the talking part of it, because I know that what we've established and through our friendship through these episodes, you are a communicator and you feel very comfortable expressing yourself verbally, and I assume that goes with not only on stage but in one-on-one conversations. You much rather talk to somebody than like write an email or send a text. Is this true?
Absolutely, dear Bob. I am much better at speaking.
Per our conversation of the 12th.
Yes, exactly. So that's my thing. But go on. I'm all ears.
Yeah, but I know this does not come naturally, and I know a lot of people who are. It's really funny because some people are naturally themselves when they're on stage. They just say, "Oh yeah, I can see them." They're just being themselves when they're on stage. But quite often there's a disparity, and with me, it's probably I'm more extroverted on stage, a little bit more laid back off stage, depending on who I'm hanging out with. And then there are people that are very gregarious and very personable and charismatic in their one-on-one, in group interactions in a social setting, and then they get on stage, and I think it's because it's a foreign, intimidating space, or experience, that they sort of clam up and they don't know what to say and they keep their words to a minimum, and I think it's just a matter of I don't know what do you think that being able to have a persona on stage and have a stage banter is something that can be learned, or is it something that just comes naturally? Because I think it's a little bit of both. But
no, it's totally both. No, you got to remember. As human beings, the number one fear that human beings have is fear of public speaking. That's number one. It's above the fear of death, above the fear of the unknown, the dark,
snakes,
insects.
spiders.
Yeah, I mean, fear of public speaking, getting up in front of a group of people and have everyone look at you. Now, I'm lucky because as far back as I can remember, my goal in life. I mean, it's good to have goals. Mine has always been to have everybody in the room pay attention to me, period. That's what I want. I've been very lucky that way. The more people that are looking at me, the more comfortable I am. Very strange.
That is odd. Wow, yeah.
So I gravitate toward this quite naturally. Now, what's interesting is my mother was pretty much the same way. She was a performer. Now, however, my father and my son were total introverts, drummers. So both drummers, and my dad, would like set up the cymbals so on an angle so you couldn't see his face and he couldn't see the audience and stuff. It was pretty bad that way, but he eventually learned fronting. And my son, who started out really shy, has turned into be quite a talker and fun guy on the stage too. And they learned that, so I've seen it learned. You know what I mean? And in the case of my son, I think he's been working with me now since, for like almost 10 years, believe it or not, and he's just seen me do it, and he's just learned by watching me that you can do these things. You know what I mean? It's not going to kill you.
Right.
So that's important. So I'd say if you're going to learn it, here's my first recommendation of the day. Check this out. Have you ever heard of Toastmasters International?
I certainly have, yes.
Right. Well, Toastmasters is an organization all over the country where people go and they learn public speaking, whether it's to do it for a living or just to be able to make presentations or even just to be able to take orders at a fast food place. It's how to be in front of a group of people and speak without stuttering and communicating well. It's basically a communications group, and I highly recommend that anyone who has difficulty talking in front or being in front of a group of people with people listening to them, watching them, consider joining that. Even if you don't want to be a speaker, it can really help you with your on-stage presence and banter. What do you think about that, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you get experience or exposure to speaking and learning the the rudimentary things, it's good. I think I haven't even, and Toastmasters is good, but it is pretty I guess every chapter is a little bit different, but they are fairly formal, and they prepare you to give talks to where you're gathering your thoughts, and there's a beginning and a middle and end. I haven't really joined a chapter, but I've had periphery exposure to them, where I covered them when I was a journalist or whatever years back. So I've been to meetings and I know what they're like. But to me, and this is very close to my heart, but I think also right up there is find a local improv class and take that.
Bob, what a great idea.
Now, of course, it's something that I've been doing for years, and in the past couple of years in particular, I've really gotten back into it, and I'm teaching classes and doing shows. And if you ever watch the show Whose Line Is It Anyway, that's what I teach and perform. It's called short form improv, where you take a suggestion from the audience and you play a game or do different scenes. There's all these different types of games, and they each have their own framework. And it's a great way to learn. And some of the things about improv, like one of the key factors or principles, is it's not about being in your head and thinking about, oh, what can I say that's funny? It's really, especially when you're on stage interacting with another character, another player, is you need to really be listening intently and listening to whatever's offered to you, accept it, and then add something to it. And so that comes in really handy. And I've just been doing this sort of instinctually over the years, is that when I'm performing somewhere, I pay attention to what's going on, so if somebody's celebrating a birthday, I'll point that out. I pay attention if somebody drops something, or they drop something behind the bar. I'll make a reference to it. And a lot of people are so like in their heads about how they're going to introduce the next song that they miss stuff that's going on in the room that they can actually make reference to, and they're not in the moment. They're in their heads trying to figure out how to look cool or what to say next. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I guess if you're in the St. Louis area, I would recommend that you contact Mr. Bob Baker and see if he can help you with that. I don't really know who's available in other forms of the country, but you can there's these things called like comedy sports and different improv groups around.
Yeah. Most major cities have somebody that's doing it or teaching it, and so our community college or whatever. So you just have to Google for your right. area. But I find it to be that's really helpful in just loosening up and being and it's a great environment also to fail. I mean, you're putting yourself out there, and sometimes what comes out of your mouth will be a bunch of mush. Not everything works, even for experienced players. But just that to build up those confidence muscles and to be fearless and just saying, just riffing on whatever's going on. And it's a supportive and environment, and I think you'll find yourself becoming more and more. It'll help your stage shows. And whenever a musician is trying something new, and I've also applied this to marketing. Like so musicians are in this writing songs, they're into singing songs, recording, performing the songs. But like marketing, for instance, is something that's often outside their comfort zone or their knowledge zone. Same thing with the stage banter thing. And so a lot of times when musicians say, "Oh, I'm uncomfortable doing that. That's not really something I should be doing," I always remind them that just because you're initially uncomfortable with something doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue it, because everyone, when they learned their instrument, was uncomfortable and awkward with it. But you work through that through repetition, building up the muscles, building up the familiarity with it to be where it became second nature to you. And so all these things, marketing, stage banter, how you structure your live shows, is something that will get more comfortable if you just practice it. So you just really have to, there's no way to intellectually prepare yourself to be more charismatic on stage. You just have to do it over and over again. Would you agree?
I would agree. And here's some things, some tips I would recommend for starters. If you are going to talk, and you should talk, if nothing else, these are the things you should say during a performance. People should know the name of your name or the name of your band or your act. And sometimes it's a good idea to introduce all the other members of the band. It's very important that when people know about your band name, you also let them know what your website address is. I wouldn't be going and just saying, say the name of your band, say check us out on Facebook. Unless you're going to give the Facebook address, because not everybody has, a memorable Facebook name and it's not easily searchable. But you do want to say things like that. You want to say thank you. You want to say, come see us again, sign up for our mailing list. There are different things that you definitely want to say during the night. But so that's tip number one. Don't forget to say these things.